Morning folks, it's Monday the 1st of March 2021 and I'm here, as you can see the signage behind me, at the top of the Peak trail at its junction with the PCT, and Coachella Valley is off there to the east of me. And today, a little bit different, I'm going to hike this section of the PCT, which is roughly miles 168 through to Saddle Junction around 179.5. We've got a variety of potential hazards ahead. Snow in various places, including around Apache Peak, and the rock slide around 172.5. And then from there on, I know from a previous survey there are dozens of trees down. And then once we get around the north side of Tahquitz, past about 175, I'm expecting pretty continuous icy snow. So I'm going to take a few short videos and see what each of those hazards looks like at the moment. As you can see from the signage, this is the top of the Peak trail. This is about 168.5. This is where you want to come off if you've got any concerns about the hazards we're looking at further ahead, in particular with the potential snow situation around Apache Peak. But I should emphasize we've had significant issues with ice and snow situations further north from there. Although Apache Peak gets a lot of the attention. Sorry, the wind's just picking up. Last year, for example, in March, April, we had rescues around 174.5 and then again around 178. So before you get to Saddle Junction, there are multiple spots that could be a challenge, not just Apache Peak. So this is the spot to head down if you've got any concerns further ahead. Okay, at the northeast side of Apache Peak, and it's remarkable how little snow there is here for early first day of March. It looks hard, but it's actually reasonably soft, softer than it should be. As you can see, there are more or less no prints through here at the moment. So I'm most of the way across this northeast side of Apache Peak. It's pretty sketchy right now. Not recommended. You can see, hopefully there, where I've cut steps. I was using the adze of my ice axe to cut steps, and then in some places the snow's fairly soft. You can see one or two bigger holes where I kind of went in through the crusty ice on top. Personally, I tend to prefer coming through early in the morning when it's nice and hard, because then I know my spikes are going to grip. But I'm also on snow and ice a lot, so I'm pretty comfortable on it. I wouldn't recommend it for most folks right now. There aren't, other than what I've just put in, there's not really a good set of tracks. Unfortunately, conditions are going to get a bit worse. We're expecting a couple of minor storm systems. Today's Monday the 1st, I think Wednesday the 3rd. At this elevation, only a slight dusting, maybe a couple of inches. Then the following week, kind of around perhaps the 9th or 10th, gets colder. Again, relatively moderate dusting, nothing significant. The danger with those sorts of snows is twofold. Firstly, they cover up where the existing ice is. So even if there's just an inch or so across this, you're not going to know where it was clear or where it was icy. So that creates a hazard. And then the powder, even if it's just an inch or two of powder sitting on top of this ice, it doesn't bind to that. It takes a few freeze-thaw cycles for it to bind to that ice. So then you've just got this unstable kind of slick layer on top of the ice. So in fact, these conditions, especially if you get a little dusting on top of these conditions, are actually the most dangerous of all. If there was 2 feet of fresh powder here, it'd be a piece of cake. Firstly, because you just go into it. Frankly, I'd probably just be putting a snowshoe track in through here. But these kind of thin, icy conditions, and those are becoming much more prevalent these days because it's much warmer. So we get a lot less snow, and then a lot more freeze-thaw cycles, a lot more icy conditions, and then these little dustings that drop on top of the existing ice. So right now, challenging. Not too bad if you know what you're doing with spikes and an ice axe, but it's about to get worse if the forecasts hold up for the next, for the first half of March. And coming on through towards the end there, and Annabelle demonstrating how easy it is if you have 4-paw drive and built-in spikes, which she has. Not comfortable right now, and we're onto some terra firma. So that's the northeast side of Apache Peak. Like I say, tricky, and probably for most people, if you're not pretty comfortable on icy snow, not recommended right now. And around on the north side of Apache Peak, the high point is actually the western peak up there. It's a little tough because the sun angle is coming right through the saddle between the north and west, the west and east peaks of Apache right now. But as you can see, pretty snowy. It's actually all kind of ice up on this slope right now. And it too is pretty much rock hard. So not really a significantly better option right now. And like I say, if that gets a dusting of a couple of inches of snow on it, in the areas where it's on top of the bushes, it'd be okay, but you might not know where it's on top of patches of ice, so that's going to be a challenge. And then right now, north from here, it's pretty plain sailing for a while. Just quickly now, I'm a bit further away. Sun angle's not great, but that's the north side of Apache Peak, the snow slope, the ice slope between the 2 peaks on the saddle there. So it's not particularly inviting either, and the steepness is pretty comparable to the northeast side, at least in places. Fair number of these minor patches. We're around probably 170.5, maybe getting close to 171. Anywhere that the sun hasn't penetrated so far this winter. And here we are coming up to the rock slide that we call 172.5, might be 173, doesn't really matter. The last snow patch was just back behind me. Fortunately, there's nothing around the rock slide area. I know that there's a report somewhere that the assisting rope is in tatters. I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. That looks pretty solid to me, but you know what, it's always very much use at your own risk. I know someone somewhere has talked about slipping down on the inside. That doesn't look very wise to me. Otherwise, the route is very much as before. Using the rope up and over. It's clearly not been used in a while. Pretty straightforward, frankly. Oh, another snow patch on the other side. Again, very much a case of use the rope and cross the rock slide at your own risk and at your own comfort level. And another new little rock slide around 173. No particular big deal there in terms of getting around it, obviously, but probably a sign of still more instability up above. Unfortunately, with no trail maintenance in 2020, with pandemic restrictions, this section's in pretty poor shape. This is the fourth such trees down since the rock slide, which was probably only half a mile ago. And there are going to be lots more. So we're around to the start of the north side of Red Tahquitz. It's probably about mile 175, and I finally picked up some tracks of other folks in the snow here. Probably peak baggers going up to Red Tahquitz maybe. But spikes required. You can see the kind of slope that I've just come across behind me there, and from here it should be pretty much continuous snow through to about 177. This slope is entirely north facing, and see it behind me there, and holds snow for a long time. This is pretty firm right now, but with this time of day, I think it's about 11 o'clock, enough give that the prints are going in pretty well. So approaching Saddle Junction, which is generally considered to be about mile 179, give or take a little bit. You may have noticed back there a few bare patches, even on the trail. So there was no track from the Tahquitz Valley Junction up to Chinkapin Flat, which is about 177.7 or something like that. And then from there back to here to Saddle Junction, there was an excellent track. I actually took spikes off. It's a pretty well marked track, and as you saw, there were some clear patches in places. Snow's pretty thin. So like I say, here at Saddle Junction, PCT northbound is there behind me, and I'm going to be heading down here, Devil Slide Trail, back home to Idlewild. Hopefully fairly good demonstration of the need at the very least for spikes, and I would very strongly recommend an ice axe. And probably at the moment the best option might be heading out on Spitler Peak Trail alternate at 168.5, especially given the weather coming in the next week or 10 days. And finally, a huge thank you to my next door neighbour Alex Coleman, who's the computer whiz kid who's hopefully going to patch the video together. Without him I wouldn't be able to do this. And there's more information at the San Jacinto Trail Report. That's sanjacjon.com, sanjacjon.com. And if you found this video useful, there's also a donate tab at that website. And any support is deeply appreciated. See you on the trails. Safe hiking, everyone.